Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where we discuss all things project leadership. On today's episode, we are going to explore why getting a project management certification doesn't necessarily make you a good project manager or a good project leader. I have 4 points I want to cover here, and beware, there is some opinion involved. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because I get questions all the time from people who are asking me, hey Kayla, what certification should I get to be considered a project manager? What degree should I get? What course should I take? What class should I take? What certification should I get? What letters do I need behind my name so people will think I am a project manager? And I have to tell you, it doesn't really work like that. I mean, it sort of does, but also not really. And this is why I want to talk about this, because it's a multifaceted topic. There are a lot of opinions around this, but I'm telling you, in order to be the project manager who is standing out, getting promoted, really driving change and making a difference and being a project leader, you have to go beyond what is taught to you in the pages of a book or in the seat of a classroom. And in order to do that, you got to have some experience. So when young project managers come to me, or when aspiring project managers come to me and they ask me what course or certification should they take, and I almost always tell them, hey, if you are looking for a place to spend your time and energy to further your project management education, then go get a job in this field in some capacity that relates in some way to project management, be a project coordinator, do something, because this is how you are going to develop project management skills. Now, please don't take this as me saying that all of these programs and certifications are completely worthless and you should just go throw away your books. That is not what I'm saying at all. There's absolutely value in learning the tools and techniques and frameworks that have been tried and true and used in project management for years. There is definitely value in that, and I would encourage all project managers to get a proper education. But you can get that in other ways. Like, there are a lot of free resources, a lot of free information online. So if you find a gap in your skill set where you're like, no, I really don't understand this part of project management, I need to take a class, I need to learn about that, then absolutely take initiative and go learn about that. But depending on what your goals are with your career in this particular profession, where you want to work, getting a certification or a degree is not really a guarantee for anything in the future, and B, may not be the best way for you to go. So think about that a little more critically. Even if you do get that certification or degree or whatever it is, that does not instantly mean you are a good project manager. There is a ton of stuff that goes well beyond the certifications and degrees. So I get a little fired up talking about this, speaking about this topic, because I am very passionate about it. So as I said, I have 4 points, which we will get into in a moment. But first, I want to introduce myself if we haven't met yet. My name is Kayla McGuire, and I love project management. I love project leadership. I love sharing information with all of you on this channel. And if that is what you are looking for, then you have found the right channel, and I am so happy you're here. And I want to invite you to subscribe. And I also want to ask you to let me know what questions you have about project management and project leadership, because I try to answer every single one of the questions that come my way, and when I can, I make a video about it. So let me know how I can help you. Okay, on to my 4 points about why getting a project management certification doesn't instantly make you a good project manager. There's some work that's required beyond that. My first point is because of the way the workplace is changing, and particularly with more dynamic environments like technology or even marketing and creative, any startup that you work for, these are environments that are like dedicated to change. They're all about change, and they're constantly changing. And sometimes when you have a project manager who is very by the book and stuck in doing things a certain way, using certain tools and techniques, it can be difficult for them to develop solutions and think outside the box when it comes to project management within organizations like this. Now, of course, we've seen a shift in many organizations moving toward more agile project management, which I think is great. But even doing that comes along with, certain expectations of the way that we think. And what I'm seeing is that anytime we get boxed in with a certain way of thinking about how to manage projects, how to manage people, lead people, manage time, like any of this stuff, anytime we develop like rigid frameworks around that, it kind of like keeps us from being creative about our solutions. And we need to be careful with that. And the project manager who wants to be a project leader needs to be mindful of that, particularly when we are working in environments that are full of change and going to be trying new things all of the time. So if you are in that type of environment or interested in getting into an environment like that, please stay open-minded. Use the skills that you will learn from your certifications or your degree, but also be open to new ways and allow your mind to think about the possibilities. Okay, on to my second point. My second point is that as project managers, we have to be really careful about how we are presenting ourselves in the workplace, because I don't know if you've encountered this yet, but project managers don't necessarily have the best reputation for being people that are leaders and positive and optimistic and fun to work with and inspiring. A lot of times when you ask people about project managers or their experience working with project managers, they don't really have good things to say. And I've encountered this with my teams. When I'm brought in as a project manager, they're very resistant to me until we get to know each other and they see what my style is. And then they're like, oh, okay, she's a little different. She's not like one of those project managers. Teams are generally tired of this old school project manager that walks around with a clipboard and checks things off and tells people what to do. People don't want that anymore. Teams don't want that anymore. They want leaders who are inspiring, who help them, who believe in them, who encourage them, who do things that are useful and are helpful with providing solutions. This is what's important, and this is what we need to focus on as project managers. So I've asked around and done some investigating to ask, like, why are project managers so dreaded? And I have a top 5 list that I shared in a YouTube short video not too long ago. I don't know if I can link that up here, but I'll try to do that. However, some of the things that they mentioned to me about why project managers are dreaded is because project managers are bossy. Project managers don't know what they're talking about. Project managers can't come up with new solutions. They are just too into their spreadsheets and forms and tools and things like that. And I want you to be aware that none of the complaints about project managers had anything to do about the task side. It was all around the people side and the leadership side. So this tells me that people see project managers not as leaders, but as managers, as bossy managers that don't know what they're talking about, that tell people what to do. And I think a big part of this problem is because we are so stuck in thinking that we read a book and learn how to do something according to theory, but then we can't actually apply that to real life situations. So pay attention to this. If you are a project manager and this is feedback that you have gotten and that you have struggled with, pay attention to this. This may be a sign that you need to work more on your leadership skills. The third point I want to make here is that I have noticed a trend with companies actually dropping or not even having a requirement at all for certain project manager certifications. It used to be just about every project manager job I came across had as a requirement, at least preferred, to have project manager certifications. I'm not seeing that anymore, and I pay attention to this through LinkedIn Jobs. I like to go in there and look at project manager jobs, just see what's popping up, how many jobs there are, what industries they're in, see what sort of the trends are happening in that area. And what I noticed the other day when I went into LinkedIn Jobs, I just did a search for project manager remote, and I looked at the first 20 jobs that popped up. And what I noticed was out of the 20 jobs, 10 of those jobs had a preference for the PMP certification. It was not required, but it was preferred. One of those jobs had a requirement for the PMP certification, and then the remaining 9, that's where I'm at, right? 9. The remaining 9 didn't have any preference or any requirement at all in terms of certification. And this was really interesting to me because in the past, I noticed when I would go into these jobs, just about everyone would have at least a preference for it. Because if you can have a preference, why wouldn't you just prefer someone that has that certification? But what I've noticed is the trend now is we're moving away from that. We're moving away from having those preferences placed on our job descriptions, which I think is really interesting. Now, of course, the type of business or the industry I think is definitely a factor here. I noticed with larger companies and corporations, they're going to be more likely to have those preferences in there. But there's a ton more startups out there now and hiring. And with those jobs in particular, I'm not seeing any requirement or preference for this at all. So I thought this was really interesting. I will say also, when I have been a hiring manager for project managers, I also do not care about degrees or certifications or any of that other stuff. The things that are most important to me are attitude, having a positive attitude, having a lifelong learning mindset. I want people who want to learn and want to figure things out. I want people who are excited and passionate about the job and about the industry that they're working in. And of course, people who are easy to communicate with and can communicate well. Those are the things that are really important to me when I am a hiring manager. So I just thought it was interesting as I was going through these jobs that the requirements are kind of melting away. Okay, and then the fourth point is, and this is my opinion, and please don't be mad at me for this, project managers who have certifications and degrees, because I know you've put a lot of time and energy and effort into it, and this is not a blanket statement at all. But in my experience, I've seen that sometimes project managers who have these certifications get the certification and then they're like, check mark, I'm a project manager. I don't really have to try that hard anymore. I just do everything by the book now, and this is how things are done. Here's the change form. Here's my timeline. Here's this or that. And it can be really frustrating to work with this kind of project manager. And I think this is the kind of project manager that I was getting complaints about when I was interviewing people about what you do and don't like about project managers. These project managers who just don't really try that hard and they're a little lazy. Now, sometimes this happens because they're burned out. Like we all know project managers can get burnout. Like seriously, this is a job that is constant and nonstop. So I do want to be sensitive to that and aware of that. But there's also this element of like, once you get that check mark and those initials next to your name, that doesn't mean it's game over for you. You have to keep going and keep trying and striving, because a lot of what project management is leadership. And leadership doesn't happen by being lazy. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. I would love to hear your comments about this topic. I hope this was helpful to you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.